chains, no rules, no safe words. This is Unbounded with Christopher Allen.
Welcome to the Unbounded podcast. I am Christopher Allen. This is a podcast without changing no rules and no safe words. Oh man, this is an exciting one. So, backstory. This topic wasn't actually supposed to be a podcast, but sometimes life gives you little golden nuggets and you just run with it. So I posted on my social media I guess it's not really a meme, it's just like something that had been shared around that says, I take being lied to so personally because on some real shit, I'm one of the most understanding people ever. Shit happens, life doesn't go as planned, feelings change, I get it. But to lie to me is such an unnecessary slap in the face because you literally have no reason to. So I shared it. And I put my caption, man, pet peeve, because it's a big pet peeve of mine. Especially by now when folks have got to know I'm going to find out anyway. Sometimes I even ask about stuff I already know the truth about just to see if you're going to lie. Just to add a little spice. And I posted this, and before I posted I thought about it because I knew it was going to cause some sort of a shitstorm because, you know, I'm 2 steps ahead of you guys. Whether you want to think I am or not. I am. I stay woke to this shit. And I was like, maybe I shouldn't post it because people are just going to lose their freaking mind, as they always do when I speak my opinion, because, oh no, Chris Brown, you're just so fucking crazy, oh my God, you're such a narcissist, how dare you? Yeah, whatever. But I was like, you know what? It's my opinion. I can defend it. Whatever. And here y'all came. So we're doing a podcast about it. Appreciate the material. This never gets old. So, yeah, that was my opinion. So I'm going to read some of the comments because it is a legitimate question. It made me think. When it comes to our friends, our family, people we know, is there a line when it comes to sharing your personal business? With like your best friend, should you withhold some information? What kind of information is that? What counts as stuff that you should withhold? You know, there's a lot of levels to this thing. And so I just kind of wanted to, you know, look at some of the thoughts people had. And nobody's really right or wrong. I think this all comes down to personal experiences. Everybody has had their own individual experiences, and that shapes the way that you believe. So what works for me may not work for Joe. What works for Joe may not work for Tanya. What works for Tanya may not work for Susan. And nobody fucking likes Susan. Nobody. So, anyway. So, Katie said, ever stop to think that they lied because they aren't ready to tell their personal business? Wow, Katie. Coming in hot with the salsa. If you ask them something you know to be true and they themselves haven't told you, it's probably because they aren't ready for that. No one likes being lied to, but people need to let everyone work through their process in their own time. If you don't want to be lied to, let people come to you when they are ready. Now, she makes a lot of valid points. I think what she's speaking to in terms of like not ready to tell their personal business, that's what I meant when I said like it depends on what the business is. For example, something that I would say somebody may not be ready to immediately discuss is if you're suddenly like, oh God, I don't know. Let's say you got leukemia, okay? You've been diagnosed with leukemia. Oh, God, terrible. Oh, what are we gonna do? You might want to take some time to deal with that within yourself before you start getting other people's emotions invested into it. I get that. Me, if it were me, I would want the support of my friends, okay? So I would tell some people because I want people to rally around me because that's what friends are for. They're to support each other. I responded, just because I felt like she did bring up some interesting points. I've said to numerous people that I thought it was wild that one side, because her last point, if you don't want to be lied to, let people come to you when they're ready. Excellent. Because I've said before to numerous people that I thought it was wild that once I stopped chasing information, I actually got more information. And usually this ended up happening because somebody would be like, oh yeah, man, did you hear about Jack and Diane hooking up? Or like they would tell a story and like, oh yeah, and that's the night that Jack and Diane hooked up. So anyway, we was going down to the river and I'm like, wait, back that up. Jack and Diane hooked up? Oh man, you ain't know? No, nobody told me. I didn't know. Bruh. Man, well look, I wasn't supposed to say nothing, but so you ain't hear it from me, but yeah, they hooked up. People assume that I know information now. Even though it was clear and documented that, at least in my circle of friends, because it was told to me, people were intentionally withholding information from me because they felt like I'm just in everybody's business. So there was that. But once I stopped chasing information, people started just like telling me more stuff. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool, And I like that because I think it gives me an opportunity to show them that, number one, it's not me out here blabbing your business. The person giving the information to me is the one out here blabbing. So you might want to focus on them instead of worrying about what I'm doing. I'm not the bad guy here. Secondly, it gives them the opportunity to see that I'm not going to react the way that you think I'm going to react. And there's a story I'm going to tell here in a minute about the way that affected me, learning how people feel like I'm going to react to certain things. That really had a big impact on me. Let me finish the comment because the next comment connects to it. It actually made my life less stressful, meaning not chasing information. I'm fine with people keeping their business to themselves, but I've made clear to those people that I will act accordingly as well. Your life is not my business. It's going to be vice versa from me. I decided this several years ago, and it was based on one single solitary situation involving two very specific people who I will not name on this podcast. They know who they are. I've had that discussion with them. You know how it's like one little thing can like change the way that you do business and about your life. It really can. Don't sit there and say that it's not. So somebody commented below and said, but the part that I don't understand is that I'm fine with people keeping their business to themselves. The whole vice versa. That's the problem this commenter has a problem with. They say, I don't know if that's an extreme example, but it just sounds petty. I don't think a friend has to know every shred of detail about my life at all times. If you want to be private about your life, then that's your prerogative, and I fully stand behind that decision. But there isn't a reason to be petty about it. You seem to get very hung up on this whole not my business thing, and I hope that's something you'll eventually be able to heal from and move past. Now, the only reason that I'm going to respond to that, full disclosure, yes, I do obviously know this person, but there's some other stuff going on. But I'm going to respond to it because of the fact that I simply cannot deny that they're not wrong. As far as the petty thing, yes, it's petty. I'm intentionally being petty about that specific thing. The whole not my business thing comes from a very, very petty place. And one day I do hope to be able to heal from that. It's like one of those, what I just say, who hurt you type of things. Yeah, somebody hurt me. I gotta work through it. I get it. It takes time. And that's gonna connect to the story I'm gonna tell you in a minute. Because the story I'm gonna tell started a healing process for me. It takes time, man. But yes, it comes from a very fucking petty ass place. Because I felt like the fact that information was withheld, and that not just me, but the collective group of my friends were lied to about a situation. And then we were told that it was none of our business when these people came around and they're like basically flaunting that business around everybody. Like I said, I'm just explaining it. The parties involved and I've had the conversation. We're cool. Love y'all to death. Awesome. I'm just talking about it because it got brought up in a comment. Okay, don't come for me. So Katie comments again and said, and that's fine if you feel that way, but try and be open to the idea that not everyone can share as easily as other people, especially if it's something they're struggling with, or even something that's really wonderful, but they're unclear of how it's moving forward and need to see that out first. Okay, that's one of those very specific situations. I'd love to know what the situations were, but I guess that's none of my business. Oh, gotcha! No, let me stop. Danielle comments and says, I mean, if they don't want to tell their business, then they can simply and honestly say, I don't want to talk about it. But it's never necessary or okay to lie. There it is. Y'all, it's literally that simple. If I ask you a question, hey, I don't really feel like talking about it right now. Okay, cool. I hope everything works out. Let's continue on with life. But there are so many assumptions, and just speaking for me, about me, and the way that I will take something. Ladies and gentlemen, I am a grown adult. I am 32 years old. I am grown. I can handle information. I'm not always going to like everything that gets said to me, but I can handle it as an adult. It's not high school anymore, where I'm going to stop being your friend because I don't like what you told me. There are certain circumstances where I deviate from that. We ain't even about to get into that. There are certain, I guess pain points where it's like, no, where you cross a line. Everybody has those red lines, but Megan, who? Reply was, we got a reply to the comment from Danielle. Some people don't accept I don't want to talk about it. Ooh, you are right. They sure don't. Good thing those people aren't named Christopher Allen. Don't pin the actions of a few on the rest of the good ones, But there are people who are just like, no, but why? But tell me. Whiny ass fucking brats. Like, and you can't deal with those people. You just can't. But that's one of those things where you gotta know your friends. You gotta know who you're dealing with. Who's a whiny ass little bitch and who's a grown ass fucking adult. And Danielle says, yeah, I get that, but whether or not the person accepts that answer is on them. But whether or not you choose that answer or a lie is on you, because you have a choice. And if my whole thing about it is, if you don't feel like I as a friend am worth knowing something like who you're dating or where you're moving to, or if you hung out with that toxic boy from down the road, stuff like that, to me, if you don't feel like our friendship is strong enough for me to know that, then we need to have another conversation about the status of our friendship. and where we are as friends. That's just me. Kristen says, I'm more annoyed by those people that volunteer lies. Like, I get it, the made-up story about you is way better than the real-life nonfiction, but when I catch you in that lie, I'm done. I'm fine with the white lies, like, oh, I've been up to nothing, when you're really hanging out with that terrible ex. Nobody cares. But I'm sick with a deadly disease. I adopted a baby in secret with my fiance, who's now dead. I got discharged from the military because I got hurt. Sometimes y'all got my head hurting from trying to keep your lies straight for you. Man, look. Bruh. You're not wrong. But, yeah, you guys came through with the comments. So, just to clarify, so I mentioned there was a story that I would tell. A friend of mine, this really struck me. A good friend of mine who I love to this day. One of the most amazing people I've ever been blessed to know. We all had like a group dinner for, God, I think it was a birthday dinner for her actually. And she then used the dinner to announce that her and this guy that a lot of us felt like was completely and totally toxic to her were having a child together, that she was pregnant with his child. And my friend looked me dead in the eye, like everybody started looking at me. Like, I'm just like, okay, you know. Was I shocked? Yes and no. I was shocked because it's like, oh God, you're pregnant. Like, you know, everybody's kind of like, ooh, kind of jumps a little bit when they're like, oh, I'm pregnant. But then very quickly it was kind of like, yeah, you know, didn't we all tell you this was gonna happen if you kept hooking up with this guy? We told you that, what, a couple years back? So to that end, I wasn't surprised. But she looks me dead in my face and was like, so how do you feel about it? I'm like, I mean, this is awesome, you know? Bringing another life into this world, it's gonna be incredible. And she's like, God, I'm so relieved. And I'm like why a sense of relief? She's like, I was really worried mostly about what you would think. I'm like, why? And I don't remember exactly what she said, but it basically amounted to, Chris, you're very judgmental, especially when it comes to the situation that I'm in with him. And you've been very vocal about how, you know, we shouldn't even be, you know, acknowledging each other's presence, for God's sake, let alone having a fucking baby. And that struck me. I was like, my God, is this how somebody that I really care about feels about me? That I'm a judgmental, basically prick. And she didn't even she was nervous to share with me an incredible detail about her life because of how I've acted. And so that kind of really woke me up. I'm like, man, like, have I really has it been coming across this way? Like, I just felt like I was I felt like I was pushing her because I know she deserves all the great things in the world and I care so much for this person. It was never trying to be judgmental. It was never trying to be negative of anything. It was trying to be positive to see to it that she gets a positive result in her life. And ultimately, you know, she did. She's got an amazing child and, like, I mean, kid's cute as all hell. So, and it's my godson, so, you know. But yeah, that woke me the hell up. And I need that sometimes. I need those wake-up calls. You know, we all do, right? We can never grow without discomfort. And that whole thing made me very uncomfortable to hear. But I needed to hear it in order to grow. And I'll leave you with that. I think that's a good place to put it on pause. So I don't know what I'm going to call this episode, but I'm going to call it something. And if you can relate to anything that I said, please comment below, like, share, and subscribe. Make sure that you tell everybody about the Unbounded podcast. Every Monday, we are right here on YouTube. And as always, brought to you by J. Johnson Value Auto Care. Link is in the description. Get your oil change. You know that weather changing? Your car probably out here sound like it needs some WD-40. No, man. They probably need some new spark plugs or something. Need some oil. Like, your car out here struggling in these streets. And of course, brought to you by Drinking Days Custom Home Brewed Booze. Yes! Got it right. I never get it right. That's the first time I got it right, I think. Without having to retake it. Hell yeah. Pat myself on the back. So yeah, thanks for joining us for this episode of the Unbounded podcast. This has been your Monday Word. You know where to get it, right here on YouTube. I'm Christopher Brown, and we will see you next week.